Breaking news. Governor Gavin Newsom and California Democrat politicians were warned 6 years ago in an audit that Los Angeles County was not ready for emergencies, and yet they did nothing. Coming up, I'll tell you how we unearthed this audit and how I shined a light on Newsom's negligence. But watch what happens next. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state representative representing District 75 in the California State Legislature. It has been 2 months since the devastating LA fires had such an impact on not only that community, but also in shaking voters, exposing that they perhaps live in a state where Democrat politicians who run everything, the state government, local government, actually are dropping the ball, are negligent, are incompetent, and yes, even corrupt, putting their lives in danger. More and more voters are waking up. It's not like, though, the liberal media is exposing anything, because there is a lot of secrets. There are a lot of secrets and a lot to expose, and we're just now getting a bit of that out into the public domain. This week, I continued my efforts as a state legislator to Doge California. Now, longtime viewers of this podcast know that I announced when I was sworn in that I was going to Doge California using my state legislative office, as well as, if necessary, working with outside investigators and researchers to shine a light on California's state and local government budgets. And I'm not able to do this without your help. So if you want me to continue to Doge California, I need you to go on the website, reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. Here it is. Go on that website, click under our Reform California launches effort to Doge California, sign up at the bottom so that you can get the updates on all the bombshells that we're putting out about California wasteful spending and corruption. Sign up at the bottom of that website, first name, last name, email, phone, and zip code. You will be tethered into our growing movement statewide to hold our state government and local government accountable and to take back our state during the election from the far left. Also, chip in a contribution. We can only do this work if you put gas in the tank. I'm going to get to the bombshell audit that I was able to unearth from 6 years ago, by the way, warning Governor Gavin Newsom and other California state and local leaders, even the LA City Council, that they were not complying with a state law for emergency evacuations. They were not ready for these emergencies. 6 years ago, they were told. They sat on the audit. They buried it. They did nothing at all to prepare. But what I'm facing at the state capitol is an effort by Democrats to stop me from doging California. And when I share with you the clip on the emergency evacuation issue, you're going to understand why. You're going to say, oh my God, I understand why these Democrats are trying to take him off these committees, because look at what he just did. It's an epic clip, and it's a very short clip, so you're going to want to stick around for it. But here's Fox News yesterday covering the story of what's happened to me in the past week. Blue state GOP lawmaker, me, goes viral for exposing state spending proposals. People were appalled. And then it says Assemblymember Carl DeMaio is one of several GOP lawmakers removed or shifted from their committees. It goes on to basically cover the story that everyone's been talking about this week, is that in the light of me exposing Newsom's true budget deficit 3 weeks ago, and 2 weeks ago exposing the fact that he had spent $9.5 billion of your state taxpayer money on illegal immigrant-free healthcare handouts at your expense, lying to the public, saying we were getting reimbursed. It was only $6 billion. It was actually $9.5 billion. We're getting reimbursed. No, we didn't. We never got reimbursed. You, the state taxpayer, ended up shelling out the money for those free benefits to illegal immigrants at the tune of 1 out of 4 Medi-Cal dollars in the state general fund budget goes to an illegal. Okay. And then last week, I exposed a $25 million COVID-19 slush fund that was being given out to 73 far left-wing political organizations to help them fund ballot harvesting and other political advocacy. Your taxpayer money being money laundered. There's no better way to describe it. Money laundering your taxpayer money to left-wing groups. Well, this week, even though I wasn't on the budget committee, I was taken off starting on Monday, was off the budget committee. That was the retaliation for on the budget committee shining a light on wasteful spending and corruption. This week, I had my audit committee hearings because I'm still on the audit committee. At least better check to see if I'm still on the audit committee. At least as of right now, I may be taken off at any moment. During the audit committee hearing, I spoke out about an audit that we've unearthed this week that is 6 years old. It was done in 2019. And it basically said California is not prepared for emergencies, natural disasters. This is from the California State Auditor. It was issued in 2019. None of the politicians in Sacramento did anything about it. In fact, they didn't even have any hearings on it. It got buried, filed away. Nothing happened. This audit is damning. It said that California counties are not prepared for emergencies, to warn people that something bad's about to happen. And they're not even complying with state law. There are state laws saying what the counties have to do. And the counties are simply not complying. They're ignoring. When you don't comply with state law, well, the governor can sue and hold you accountable. More on that in just a minute, because I connect some dots here that show just how negligent and extreme Gavin Newsom is in terms of what he's doing. But more importantly, if you're not complying with best practices for emergency management, you're putting lives at risk. People could die. If you don't do your job, others could die. That's why we have local government. That's why we have state government, to make sure that when bad things happen, government does its job to warn us and to evacuate us, that it plans ahead of time. The audit says it's not ready to do this, that we are at risk. The audit was buried. Newsom, who's been governor since 2018, so he's been governor the whole entire time. Newsom, in his administration, has done nothing through the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, OES. The governor's responsible for implementing the audit recommendations and holding counties accountable, because this is a statewide issue. The Governor's Office of Emergency Services has failed to do its job. Newsom has not even bothered to hold them accountable. And so during this hearing, I basically said, okay, let's walk through and in simple terms explain. We have counties that are not doing their job. This is not compliant with state law. They're openly violating state law. You warned us 6 years ago, Mr. Auditor. Obviously, if you don't do a good job with evacuations and risk management and emergency management, people's lives are at risk. Oh, but then I decide to do something very clever. I'll play the clip in a moment, but let me just put the bottom line here. I'm going to continue to doge California. I am going to go to every hearing, like the clip I'm about to share with you, and I'm going to do what I did in this clip. And if you appreciate that, if you want me to do that, if you want me to shine a light on California state and local government and doge California, recognize that I'm going to get taken off these committees lickety-split. My assembly staff will continue to be able to do things in the office and then allow me to do press conferences, and we've got those resources. But in order to doge a state government as large as California, and to also help local reformers do work, shining a light on their local county boards and city councils, I need your help. Go to the website, reformcalifornia.org, and sign up, chip in a contribution to put gas in our tank to fuel this movement. Here is the clip of the audit committee hearing. Such controversy for me just exposing an audit that was killed, was hidden for the last 6 years. And it shows that LA County was not complying with state law, was not ready. For the past 6 years, we were warned. And then 2 months ago, we had some of the worst fires in that community's history. Watch. First, I guess never too late to have a hearing. This audit was released in 2019, showing severe deficiencies with the way the Governor's Office of Emergency Services was handling compliance with state law as it relates to working with counties on emergency preparedness and notification. And here we are in 2025, finally digging deep. I appreciate the fact that the chair has selected this important topic. It's very timely. I know a number of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle are very interested in raising the bar. And raising the bar means holding folks accountable and shining a light and having transparency. So I want to simplify this very complex lengthy audit, because I think there's some really good stuff in here and alarming stuff for us to demand action on. For the auditors, your audit found that our practices at the local level for emergency notifications are not compliant with state law. Is that correct? We are not complying with the letter and spirit of state law in terms of what we would like local governments to prepare for, particularly as it relates to vulnerable populations. Is that correct? You cited a law passed in 2014. It's 11 years later, and we're still seeing counties not compliant. So non-compliance with state law is what the audit uncovered on emergency management. Mr. Auditor, do you think that lives are put at increased risk if we're not compliant with some of the provisions in state law, some of the best practices that you've identified? Do we have a higher risk profile by not doing some of the things that the counties have failed to do?
I think the state is in a better position if they are doing the things that we outlined in our audit. No amount of planning gives you 100% assurance that you're going to be...
Mr. Parks, is your microphone on? I'm sorry.
Sorry. No amount of planning will guarantee success during a disaster, but I think a lack of planning is a contributing factor to failure during a disaster. And so,
in other words, we have a higher risk profile if we don't do best practices. And God forbid, people could die if we don't do things right according to best practices. That's why you have best practices. I mean, we wouldn't be imposing regulations if there wasn't some sort of benefit to the community, right? Okay, so this question. My school districts in my district have been threatened by Governor Gavin Newsom for not complying with state law on personal pronouns and controversial curriculum on sex ed topics. They have been sued by the Attorney General multiple times. They've been threatened by state bureaucrats multiple times with very sternly worded letters. Can you think of any time when the Office of Emergency Services contacted one of these local governments since your audit to say you're not compliant with state law and best practices relating to emergency preparedness notifications? Can you think of any time when they have actually called out, contacted a county government for noncompliance? You found noncompliance in your audit. In the past 5 years since this audit was issued, are you aware of any such instance?
So Cal OES's role, as we talk about in the audit, is to review plans, to provide information and resources. They don't have a role to approve plans. It's a local...
But they have a role to warn?
To warn. And
to shine a light?
And to shine a light.
Okay.
And to provide feedback.
The governor has tweeted a number of times, demanding that school board members take action to comply with state law and guidance. Are you aware of any tweets by the governor on emergency preparedness compliance on issues raised in your audit? Any tweets at all in the last 5 years? Because he's a prolific tweeter when he wants to be on school issues. He has no problem threatening school board members. Are you aware of any such tweets on emergency preparedness issues outlined in your audit?
Our work was focused on the audit that we performed at the time.
That's okay. My office actually scoured his Twitter account, both his political one and his state account. We could find nothing. Finally, we searched the docket. I just wanted to see if we missed anything. Has our illustrious Attorney General, who has been suing school board members and school districts, threatening parents, has our Attorney General brought any litigation against a county for noncompliance with state law on emergency notifications as outlined in your audit? Any litigation against, because he's apparently willing to sue school districts at a drop of a hat, any litigation to force them to comply, to protect vulnerable populations? I'm using words in your audit, vulnerable populations, people that are put at higher risk for losing their lives if they are not given proper notification. Any lawsuits by our Attorney General?
Not that I am aware of offhand, but...
but he has filed 5 against President Trump in the last 6 weeks. I just wanted to make sure, because I was hoping maybe something was going to be done on your audit that was issued 6 years ago. I'm glad that the legislature is doing something. We're holding an oversight hearing today, 6 years later, and finding that not a whole lot has changed in the past 6 years. Thank you. That does it for me, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California State Representative. Again, if you want me to continue to expose corruption, wasteful spending, the hypocrisy of Newsom not giving a blank about emergency response, but going and harassing school boards and suing parents over personal pronouns. I don't know about you, but I think saving lives much more important for these kids than teaching them personal pronouns and various other bizarre, inappropriate content. If you want me to continue this work, I need your help. Go to the website, reformcalifornia.org. Go to the bottom and sign up. First name, last name, email, phone, and zip code. That's all it takes to have you tethered to our growing movement to take back our state from the far left. Please chip in a contribution. Until next time, be safe. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.